What's also challenging, I think, is you made a great point. You say when you say yes to stuff, you got to say no to something else. And I think that's also hard because I think I've seen some people say, gosh, I sacrificed my career. Or I don't want to sacrifice my career for the family, or I don't want to sacrifice my family for the career. And then you'll see sometimes there's, they'll make a choice and then they'll regret the choice later. So I don't think there's a right or wrong choice. It's just a matter of being intentional and knowing it's difficult to have it all.
Yeah.
And particularly when you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with all that.
Yeah.
What else do you think we can be doing in our 30s that might be good to set us up?
So again, kind of jump back to the 20s. If you've skipped the step in the 20s of dealing with that inner work, it's never too late, right? So if you've skipped that step and you're out of your 20s, do it now, right?
Yeah.
Get into it.
Because what goes down
will come up.
Will.
Right.
I love that.
Will come up.
The way you said that. Will. Not just like might.
It will.
Not just it could.
Like,
or maybe it'll stay down there forever. No. Will.
And it will come up. It'll come up in relationships. It'll come up in your health, right? Like heart disease even. Like there's all kinds of studies that show the connection between kind of that piece. So do that work, right? If you're in your 30s and you haven't done it yet, get into it. The second thing I would say is focus on relationships. And especially if you've got a significant other and you're kind of growing a family, I would say focus on relationship. And honestly, I would say go to marriage counseling. And I have no idea, and do it. Like go to marriage counseling or go to some marriage workshops. Like commit to what you've committed to, right? And for real commit to it. So that would be a big piece.
So for people that say, but we don't really have a problem, what would you say? How would you reframe going to marriage counseling? Because I think often people say, I got to go there because I've got a problem.
Yeah. It just opens the relationship up, right? Like, and I've never seen like an open conversation about marriage, like in the context of marriage, even when you're doing well, when you're doing right, everything feels good. There's always something to like get into and to discuss, and something that's even coming up on the horizon that you may want to just take a look at together with someone else. But again, it can be maybe read a book about marriage together. Just focus on that relationship. The reason I say that for the 30s, it's just extremely hard to do, right? Because you've got to potentially line up babysitters and line up all kinds of, the logistics of it are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so focus on relationships like your significant other, but also your kind of extended relationships as well, your friends and all of that.
And I think why that's also so important is when you do, assuming you do embark on that journey of going from married to a spouse to then having children, that's a change in roles. And so then that also means you might need some help in kind of navigating that, because now it's no longer just the two of us. I remember vividly, it was just Emily and I. We could do laundry anytime we wanted to. The laundry was just like whenever.
Yeah.
And then we had Abby, and it's like, okay, laundry probably needs to get done and then Aaron, and then Noah. It was like, no, laundry must be done on Tuesday at 7.
A health code violation.
And if you don't, no one has clothes, and everything's. I mean, it really puts a different kind of time pressure on things, and changes kind of roles and responsibilities. So
absolutely, and I think that roles and responsibilities even is just hashing that out and letting that evolve and change. It's a critical piece.
Okay, so I want to move us into our 40s, and I'm going to move us there by sharing the World Happiness Curve that the Brookings Institute did a few years back, and they studied happiness across the globe. Okay, and it varies by country and culture. Okay, if you're curious, Russia has the lowest happiness. Okay, but what they found was when they aggregated the whole thing, it was like they had a curve, and it started around 18. You're pretty happy, and you get into your 20s, and it starts to go down. And the bottom of the happiness trough was 42. Okay. So we've just now crested over 30 into 40s. 42 is the bottom of the happiness trough. And then after that, it starts to go up again.
Yep.
And I think that's a nice kind of entry point into our 40s. We're in this place of we've been through a long season of growth, and we're feeling pretty tired and stressed and worn out. Yep. What are, when you think about 40s and you have clients come to you in their 40s, what are some of the issues they're presenting?
So it is, what you said is right. It's a long season of growth and you're growing as a person, but I would say you've also failed at some things. Like you have failed at things at that point. And so I see a lot of that, right? A lot of those types of issues.
Say more. What would be examples?
So a marriage has fallen apart. and you were not able to salvage it. So you've got that, one of your kids, you had a trajectory or a path that you thought that kid was on, and it turns out they're not, or they're much different than you thought they would be. You've probably been, or may have been fired, right? Like you may have like lost a gig and been downsized, so you may have like experienced that loss. So you have a lot more wear at that point. You've got wear around that. But you've also like achieved, right? And you're kind of climbing up, hopefully, and achieving some of those maybe income status things and the promotions, and maybe you're moving into like more senior roles in your organization. So you're in that space, right? You've got wear on you because you have failed at things, but you've also kind of like worked your way up in that way. The big thing about the 40s to me, though, is it's about meaning at that point. And I think that's the happiness trough that you talk about. I mean, I've experienced it. I know a lot of people who have experienced that. Like, I've checked all the boxes, right? Like, I've done everything I was supposed to do, and yet I feel like this. I kind of feel empty about all of it. Like, all the things I achieved in my 30s, all the things I lined up for my life, they're ultimately, or many of them aren't kind of fulfilling me in the way that I thought they would. And so it completely makes sense to me that the science would support, that kind of dynamic.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.